Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to, cut through the noise and hopefully bring you some of those aha moments.
Looking forward to it.
So today we're diving into something maybe a bit controversial for some hunters out there, especially the real dedicated DIY folks.
Hunting leases?
Exactly. Hunting leases. You might think they're too commercial, maybe not the real way to hunt.
There's definitely that perception sometimes.
But here's the kicker, the really interesting part. A source we looked at shows that a massive 98% of hunters who actually try leasing, they're happy they did.
98%, that's remarkable.
It is, and they often stick with it, preferring it year after year. So that's a huge level of satisfaction.
It really makes you pause and ask why.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, the real issue for a lot of hunters these days is just finding a place to go. Access is shrinking.
It's a major challenge, no doubt.
So our big question today is, why does this solution, the hunting lease, which some might be suspicious of, lead to such incredibly high satisfaction? What's making that 98% figure happen?
Yeah, what's the secret sauce there?
Okay, let's unpack this and figure it out.
It's a really compelling number, isn't it? And what's fascinating here, I think, is realizing that in a lot of states, leases aren't some fringe activity.
Right.
They're actually woven right into the hunting culture.
Yeah.
It's just how people get access to land.
It's the norm.
It often is. So what we want to do today is dig into the practical, sort of concrete reasons behind that satisfaction rate. We'll look at how platforms like base camp leasing, for example, tackle those common hunter frustrations.
And really change the game for them.
Exactly, how they fundamentally improve the hunting experience.
Okay, so if we're talking about changing the experience, maybe we should start right at the beginning, that first contact point.
Makes sense.
Because if you're a hunter feeling squeezed out, trying to find private land can feel, I don't know, intimidating, like you need secret handshakes or something.
Yeah, it can feel like a closed door.
So how does a platform like Basecamp Leasing handle that very first hurdle, their website, for instance?
Well, that easy-to-use website is absolutely critical. It's the front door, like you said.
Okay.
Think about the old way, right? Knocking on doors, trying to figure out who owns what from confusing maps, maybe making awkward phone calls.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
This website just cuts through all of that noise. It's built to be, well, intuitive. It's a central place, clear information, not just for hunters, but landowners, too.
Ah, okay. For both sides.
Right. It explains the whole leasing thing clearly, which, immediately lowers the stress level for a hunter. You feel more informed, less like you're guessing.
That clarity, yeah, that sounds like a huge deal. I did notice they have these different account types, too. Something like wall hanger, 8-point, forkhorn, even a free one. If someone's new to this, what does that mean? Is it about how serious you are?
That's a good question. It's basically a way to tailor the search, A free account lets you browse, get the lay of the land.
Just looking around.
Exactly. Then moving up through, say, forkhorn to 8-point to wall hanger, you generally get access to maybe more detailed filters. You might see new listings a bit earlier.
Okay, so it helps you focus.
Precisely. It helps match the platform's resources to what you, the hunter, are actually looking for. Whether you just need a spot or you have those big trophy ambitions, it helps filter things right from the start.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you get through that digital door. You've maybe picked your ambition level. Now what? Finding any private land can be tough, but actually having choices, that feels like a luxury.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that leads us straight into another huge plus, the abundance of leases to choose from.
Right.
Basecamp Leasing, for instance, isn't just offering a couple of farms here and there. They cover a pretty wide area, Northeast, Southeast, Midwest.
So options, real options.
Yes. For a hunter, that's a game changer. You're not just desperately taking the first thing you find. You can actually pick. Filter by state, even down to the county level.
Which is great if you want to stay local or maybe target a specific kind of habitat.
Exactly. But it's not just about having lots of listings. It's about making an informed choice.
How so?
Each listing has maps and photos provided by their agents and the landowners, aerials, topo maps, pictures of the land.
So you can kind of scout it from your couch.
Sort of, yeah. Get a visual feel, see the access points, the terrain. And this is really important. They stress that this is just the start.
Okay.
They actually provide a permission slip for properties you're serious about.
Oh, so you can go walk it legally.
Yes. A proper, personal, boots-on-the-ground inspection. That combination, the online info, the maps, the photos, and the permission to inspect gives you a much faster, much more thorough way to decide. It's not just based on hope.
That permission slip for inspection.
Yeah.
Wow, that really shows they're confident in the properties. And it lets you be confident, too. You're not buying sight unseen.
Exactly. It builds trust.
Okay, so finding the right place is one piece, but actually sealing the deal, getting the lease secured, that part often feels messy. Paperwork, handshakes, maybe some confusion.
You've definitely hit on a major pain point. Traditional private land access can be, let's just say, informal sometimes, which leads to uncertainty.
For sure.
So what's appealing here is their simple leasing process. It's designed to be really clear, really straightforward, takes away that ambiguity and stress.
How does it work, basically?
Well, once you've found your property and done your inspection, you create your account, secure it with a deposit, pay the fee, sign the contract electronically usually, and you're good to go. Ready for the season.
And most of that can be done online.
Pretty much everything except, obviously, the walking the property part,
Right.
which means it's convenient, it's fast, it cuts down massively on the administrative headache. Lets you focus on planning your hunt, not chasing paperwork.
That sounds almost too easy for dealing with land access. Does the contract really cover all the bases? Are there still ways things can go sideways?
That's a really sharp question. Because you're right, even a simple process needs a solid foundation. And that foundation is the clear, no-nonsense contract.
Okay.
Think about the horror stories you hear, right? Boundary issues, liability scares, maybe arguments over who can hunt when or if guests are allowed.
Oh, yeah. Those can ruin a whole season, or worse.
Absolutely. These contracts, drafted by legal pros, are designed specifically to prevent that kind of thing. They protect the landowner and the hunter.
Both sides again.
Yes. They lay out the rules clearly. They're not just pieces of paper. They're what creates that stable, respectful relationship. They turn potential problems into clear expectations. And that level of legal clarity, that's a major differentiator for a platform like this. It builds trust.
So the contract handles the what-ifs between the hunter and landowner. That's huge for security. But what about, like, accidents? Hunting has risks. Landowners worry about someone getting hurt. Hunters worry about, I don't know, unforeseen liability.
Critical point.
Yeah.
And that's where the incredible liability insurance peace of mind comes in. This is a big one.
How big?
We're talking $5 million of included liability insurance.
$5 million. Wow.
Yeah. Think about what that does. For a landowner, it pretty much removes the biggest fear about letting hunters on their property. They know they're covered.
Takes that worry right off the table.
And for the hunter, it's a massive safety net. Covers those unexpected things that could happen. It's not some token policy. It's serious coverage.
Right.
It tackles those deep worries that often come with hunting by permission or leases that don't have this kind of backing.
That really does sound like peace of mind. Okay, so the legal stuff, the insurance, it's all locked down. Now, for a lot of DIY hunters, a big part of finding your own spot is knowing it's quality land, right? Worth your time and money.
Absolutely.
Does base camp leasing just list anything that comes along, or do they actually vet the quality of the hunting land itself?
That's a really fair question, and it gets to their proactive role. They don't just act like a bulletin board. They focus on quality hunting lands.
How do they ensure that?
They have field agents, people on the ground whose job it is to find properties, yes, but also to inspect them thoroughly.
So they walk it too.
Oh, yeah. They study the land, the habitat, they gauge the overall quality. They're deciding if it's actually lease-worthy, if it meets certain standards.
So there's a filter before it even gets listed.
Exactly. It's been vetted by someone who knows hunting land.
Yeah.
And, generally, the price will reflect things like the size, how huntable the terrain is, and the kind of experience they expect it to offer.
Okay.
So it's not just about getting access, it's about getting quality access that's already had an initial assessment.
That vetting is really reassuring. But let's cut to the chase, like any hunter would. Quality land means deer, right? Or whatever game you're after.
Yes,
Yeah.
ultimately that's the bottom line.
Can they really tell you what kind of deer are there? Does it live up to that wall hanger name sometimes?
Well, nobody can guarantee you'll see a specific buck, right?
Yeah.
Nature doesn't work that way.
Sure.
But they do take real steps to give you a solid idea about solid buck age structures and deer densities.
Oh.
Their agents, when they inspect, they're actively scouting, looking for deer sign.
Like what? Beds, track?
Exactly. Beds, droppings, rubs on trees, scrapes on the ground, tracks. Real, tangible evidence of deer activity.
Okay.
They often take photos of this sign. And if they have harvest photos from past seasons or trail cam pictures landowners share, they'll often include those too.
Ah, so real evidence.
It's evidence, not a guarantee, but when you combine those maps, the descriptions, the photos assigned, and your own personal visit,
Mm.
you get a much clearer picture of the deer situation than just, knocking on a random door.
Oh.
You have a firm grasp on what you're leasing.
So you're making an informed decision based on the best available intel. Makes sense. Now, another big frustration, especially for public land hunters, is just other people.
All the competition. Yeah.
Constant pressure, bumping into others, feeling like your spot got taken. Does leasing fix that?
It absolutely does. And this is a huge driver of satisfaction. Less competition.
How so?
Think about public land versus a lease. Public land, well, it's open to everyone within the rules. You're always potentially sharing it, competing for space.
It can be frustrating.
Hugely frustrating. It can really impact the quality of the hunt. Now, when you lease a property through base camp leasing, you secure the exclusive hunting rights for that specific piece of land for the whole year.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
So nobody else can legally hunt there.
That's right. Just you or whoever is included in your lease group.
Yeah.
It's your private spot for the duration.
Wow.
That creates this layer of access protection. It directly, massively improves the quality of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
It shifts it from potentially crowded and stressful to controlled and serene. It just optimizes your chances and your enjoyment.
That sounds like a dream scenario for a lot of hunters. A guaranteed spot.
That's a major selling point.
Okay, so you've got the land, minimal competition. But what about the people around the land? Landowners, neighbors? Sometimes that can be the trickiest part, right?
Absolutely. The human element is crucial and often unpredictable. That's where great landowners and neighbors comes into play.
Can they really guarantee that? People are people.
They can't guarantee everyone's personality, of course, but they're field agents during that initial vetting process we talked about. They specifically ask about these things.
They inquire about the neighbors, the landowner's temperament.
They do. They try to get a feel for the situation. They understand that a difficult landowner or constant issues with neighbors can completely sour the experience, no matter how good the land is.
So what happens if they sense trouble?
If red flags pop up, maybe a history of disputes, a particularly difficult personality, known problems next door, they generally won't list the property.
Ah, another layer of filtering.
Exactly. It's proactive screening. It doesn't mean every interaction will be perfect, but it makes positive, respectful relationships the norm rather than, the lucky exception. And in hunting, good relationships really do matter.
So it's peace of mind about the people, too, as much as possible. Okay, that builds a really strong case. But here's a thought. Part of the magic for DIY hunters is finding that spot, learning it, returning year after year.
The connection to a place, yeah.
With a lease, is it just a one-year deal? Do you have to start the search all over again next season? What about long-term security?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Investing time and effort into learning a property, only to lose it, that's tough.
Yeah.
This is where base camp leasing offers something really valuable. The first right of refusal.
What does that mean exactly?
It means that as the current lessee, you get the first shot, the exclusive option, to release that same property the following year.
So it's yours if you want it again?
Pretty much. It's a contractual right. If you decide, nah, not for me next year, that's fine. It goes back on the market. But if you do want it, nobody else can just jump in and take it from you.
As long as the property stays listed and you pay on time.
Correct. As long as it's still in their portfolio. You meet the deadlines, make the payments. The landowner is obligated to offer it to you first.
That provides real continuity, security.
It does. It turns what could be a yearly scramble into potentially a long-term relationship with a specific hunting ground. You can plan, manage, really invest in that spot.
That's incredibly powerful. That changes it from just renting land to having a reliable hunting home base almost.
It gives you that long-term perspective.
Okay, so stepping back, what does this all really mean for you listening? We've gone through a lot here.
We covered quite a bit.
Yeah, from just how easy they make the process with the website to the serious legal backup with contracts and that huge liability insurance. Takes a lot of worry away.
Peace of mind is a recurring theme.
It really is. And then there's the focus on quality land, thanks to those agents vetting properties, plus providing actual evidence of deer sign.
Trying to give you the best possible picture.
Right. And then the experience itself, less competition, trying to ensure good relationships, and that first right of refusal for the future. It adds up.
It builds a strong case for why that 98% satisfaction rate exists.
Definitely. Ultimately, these leases, structured this way, seem like a really solid answer to that big problem we started with. Hunters just need access, reliable access.
Addressing a fundamental need.
So while all this explains the high satisfaction, it really makes you think, what parts of the hunting experience do you value most? Is it that certainty, the quality, the lack of hassle?
Everyone's priorities are a bit different.
They are. But it clarifies what this model offers.
And maybe just to leave you with something to chew on, thinking bigger picture.
Okay.
We know the demand for leases is rising. We see that in other reports.
Hmm.
So how might these kinds of structured agreements, the contracts, the insurance, the vetting, the long-term potential, how might they actually shape the future?
The future of what?
Of land access overall, of how landowners and hunters interact, maybe even how wildlife is managed on private lands.
Hmm.
Does this model offer benefits that go beyond just keeping individual hunters happy?
That's a really interesting question. How these structured relationships might influence conservation and access on a larger scale?
Exactly. Something to think about maybe beyond just your next hunt.